Hi, welcome to Insibook. In this video, I will summarize The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, Getting Things Done by David Allen, and Deep Work by Cal Newport, with memorable keylines for you. Okay, let's dive in. In our modern quest for success, we often chase after the fruits of effectiveness while neglecting the root. We look for quick fixes, communication techniques, and positive thinking strategies, what could be called a personality ethic. But these are secondary. True effectiveness comes from something deeper, something more fundamental, our character. It flows from who we are, from principles like integrity, courage, and humility. Lasting success, the kind that brings with it a sense of fulfillment and peace, is built from the inside out. It is a product of the character ethic, an alignment with timeless and universal principles of human effectiveness. This journey toward effectiveness is a process of growth, moving from a state of dependence on others to independence, and finally, to a mature state of interdependence where we can create great things with others. This evolution is guided by 7 habits, which are not just disconnected behaviors, but an integrated framework for personal and interpersonal effectiveness. The foundation of this entire journey is the first habit: be proactive. More than just taking initiative, being proactive means recognizing that you are responsible for your own life. Your behavior is a function of your decisions, not your conditions. Between what happens to you, the stimulus, and your response, you have the freedom to choose. This is the primary gift that makes us human. Reactive people are driven by feelings, by circumstances, by conditions, by their environment. Proactive people are driven by values, carefully thought about, selected, and internalized values. You can see this difference in the language people use. Reactive language is filled with "I can't," "I have to," and "if only," effectively transferring responsibility to outside forces. Proactive language uses "I can," "I will," and "I choose." It is the language of agency and accountability. To be proactive is to focus your energy not on the things you are concerned about but cannot control, but on your circle of influence, those things you can actually do something about. By working on yourself, on your character, and on the things within your control, you will find that your circle of influence begins to expand. With this foundation of proactivity, you can then move to the second habit: begin with the end in mind. This is the habit of vision, purpose, and leadership. It's based on the principle that all things are created twice. There is a mental or first creation and a physical or second creation. Before you build a house, you create a detailed blueprint. Before you start a business, you write a business plan. The same should be true for your life. It is alarmingly easy to get caught in an activity trap, to work harder and harder climbing the ladder of success, only to discover, when you get to the top, that the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. To avoid this, you must have a clear destination in mind. A powerful way to do this is to visualize your own funeral. What would you want people to say about you? About your character, your contributions, your relationships? Thinking deeply about these questions helps you to connect with your innermost values and to define what success truly means to you. The most effective way to operationalize this habit is to develop a personal mission statement. This is your personal constitution, a written standard that becomes the criterion by which you measure everything else. It is a declaration of your purpose and values, and it gives you the clarity to lead your own life instead of being led by others or by circumstances. Once you have your end in mind, you can move to the third habit, the second creation. Put first things first. This is the habit of personal management, the practical fulfillment of the first 2 habits. While leadership is deciding what the first things are, management is putting them first, day by day, moment by moment. This habit requires a strong independent will, the ability to make a decision and act on it, to say yes to your most important priorities, and just as crucially, to say no to other, less important things, even when they seem urgent. We live in a world of constant demands, where the urgent often crowds out the important. Think of your activities in terms of a time management matrix with 4 quadrants. Quadrant Y is for activities that are both urgent and important, crises and pressing problems. Quadrant 3 is for things that are urgent but not important, like many interruptions and some meetings. Quadrant 4 is for things that are neither urgent nor important, trivial busy work, and time wasters. Highly effective people stay out of quadrants 3 and I4 because urgent or not, they aren't important. They also shrink Quadrant 1 down to size by spending more time in Quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 is the heart of effective personal management. It contains activities that are important, but not urgent. These are things like building relationships, long-range planning, exercising, and proactive work. They are the things we know we should do, but often don't because they aren't pressing. By focusing on Quadrant 2, you are planning, preventing problems, and investing in your capabilities, which ultimately reduces the number of crises you have to deal with. These first 3 habits constitute the private victory. They are about self-mastery, moving from dependence to independence. But independence is not the ultimate goal. Life is, by its nature, highly interdependent. To achieve our greatest potential, we must learn to work effectively with others. This is the public victory, and it begins with the 4th habit. Think win-win. Win-win is not a technique. It is a total philosophy of human interaction. It's a frame of mind and heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit in all interdependent situations. It sees life as a cooperative, not a competitive arena. Most of us are deeply scripted in the win-lose paradigm. From a young age, we are taught to compete, to compare ourselves to others, to see success in terms of someone else failing. This scarcity mentality believes there is only so much to go around. A win-win mindset, on the other hand, comes from an abundance mentality, the belief that there is plenty out there for everybody. It requires both courage to state your own needs and consideration for the needs of the other person. It's not about being nice, nor is it a quick fix technique. It's a character-based approach to relationships that seeks solutions that are beneficial and satisfying to all parties involved. When a win-win solution cannot be found, the best alternative is often win-win or no deal, which means that if you can't find a solution that benefits you both, you agree to disagree agreeably. To create win-win solutions, you must first practice the 5th habit: seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is the key to effective interpersonal communication and is perhaps the most profound paradigm shift in the entire framework. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. They are either speaking or preparing to speak, filtering everything they hear through their own life experiences and autobiographical responses. They are eager to give advice, to solve the problem before they have truly diagnosed it. The key to understanding another person is to practice empathic listening. This means listening not just with your ears, but with your eyes and your heart. You listen for feeling, for meaning. You put yourself in the other person's frame of reference, seeing the world as they see it. When you listen with empathy, you are giving the other person psychological air. You are validating them, showing them that you value them as a person. Only after you have truly understood the other person's perspective can you effectively seek to be understood yourself. When you present your own ideas with clarity, conviction, and in the context of a deep understanding of the other person's needs and concerns, your ability to influence them and to reach a win-win solution increases dramatically. This leads directly to the 6th habit: synergize. This is the habit of creative cooperation. Simply defined, synergy means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's the idea that 1 + 1 can equal 3, or 10, or 1,000. When you communicate synergistically, you are not just tolerating differences, you are celebrating them. You value the different perspectives, experiences, and strengths that others bring to the table. Synergy is the culmination of all the previous habits. It requires the proactivity to take initiative, the vision of beginning with the end in mind, the discipline to put first things first, the mutual respect of a win-win attitude, and the deep understanding that comes from empathic communication. When these elements are present, you create an environment where new possibilities and creative solutions can emerge, solutions that no single individual could have conceived of on their own. It is an adventure, a process of opening your mind and heart to new possibilities, and it unlocks the greatest powers within people. The final habit makes all the others possible. Sharpen the saw. This is the habit of self-renewal. It means taking the time to preserve and enhance the greatest asset you have: you. It's about regularly renewing the 4 dimensions of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and social, emotional. The physical dimension involves caring for your body through proper nutrition, exercise, and rest. The spiritual dimension is about connecting with your core, your center, your commitment to your value system. This can be done through meditation, prayer, spending time in nature, or immersing yourself in great literature or music. The mental dimension involves continually educating yourself, reading, writing, and thinking critically. The social-emotional dimension focuses on building meaningful relationships, making deposits in the emotional bank accounts of others through empathy and service. This habit is the ultimate quadrant 2 activity. It is important but rarely urgent. Because it isn't pressing, we often feel we don't have time for it. But neglecting to sharpen the saw leads to a dulled, ineffective instrument. By investing in regular, balanced renewal in all 4 areas, you create the growth and change that allow you to practice all the other habits with increasing effectiveness, creating an upward spiral of continuous improvement and fulfillment. It is possible to have an overwhelming number of things to do and still function productively with a clear head and a positive sense of relaxed control. This isn't about working harder or longer hours. It's about changing how you approach your life and work. The primary challenge most of us face isn't a lack of time, but a lack of clarity. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. It's a brilliant focusing tool, but a terrible storage device. When you try to use your head as your office to remember everything you need to do, your mental capacity is diminished, leading to stress, overwhelm, and a feeling of being constantly behind. The key to achieving a state of stress-free productivity lies in getting everything out of your head and into a trusted external system. Many of the things causing you stress are what can be called open loops or incompletes. Anything pulling at your attention because it isn't where it should be, and you haven't decided the desired outcome or the next action. That nagging feeling that you should be doing something about the garage, the unresolved issue with a client, the upcoming birthday you need to prepare for, these are all open loops. As long as they remain in your head, they will drain your energy and prevent you from being fully present in the moment. The solution is to externalize these commitments, to capture them in a reliable system outside your mind so you can stop thinking of them and start thinking about them in a productive way. This frees up your mental resources to focus, to be creative, and to engage with your world with a clear mind, a state akin to mind like water. Like water that responds perfectly to a pebble or a boulder with an appropriate splash before returning to calm, you can learn to handle inputs and demands without being thrown off balance. This approach is built on a fundamental 5-step process for mastering your workflow: capturing what has your attention, clarifying what it means, organizing the results, reflecting on your options, and then engaging with confidence. It's a bottom-up approach. By getting control of the day-to-day mundane tasks, you create the mental space to think about the bigger picture. The first step is to capture everything. You need to corral all the stuff that has your attention, no matter how big or small. This includes emails, voicemails, letters, stray thoughts, ideas, tasks, and commitments. Use a collection tool, a physical in-tray, a digital app, a notebook, to gather it all in one place. The goal is to have as few capture locations as possible and to empty them regularly. This isn't about organizing yet. It's simply about getting it all out. Your mind will only let go of its lower-level task of remembering everything once it trusts that you have truly captured every single thing that might need your attention. Once you have everything captured in your in-tray, the next step is to clarify what each item is. You process each item one by one, asking yourself, what is it? And is it actionable? This is a critical decision-making stage. If an item is not actionable, it's just junk, something to file for reference, or an idea to incubate for later. You have 3 options: trash it, file it as reference material, or put it on a someday maybe list. This keeps your active system clear of things that don't require immediate attention. If the item is actionable, you must then decide what the very next physical action is. This is a crucial distinction, not the project, but the immediate visible action you need to take. Plan birthday party is not a next action. Email Sarah to ask for guest list ideas is. By defining the next action, you eliminate the ambiguity that often leads to procrastination. A powerful guideline to apply here is the 2-minute rule. If the next action can be completed in 2 minutes or less, do it right then and there. Replying to a quick email, making a brief phone call, or filing a document often takes less time to do immediately than to organize and track for later. This simple habit can dramatically increase your productivity by preventing small tasks from piling up. For actionable items that will take longer than 2 minutes, you have two choices: delegate it to someone else or defer it for yourself to do later. If you delegate it, it goes onto a waiting for list, so you can track that you're waiting for a response or for someone else to complete a task. If you defer it, it will be organized into your system in the next step. The third step is to organize these commitments into a trusted system. After clarifying, you place reminders of your categorized content in the appropriate locations. This is where you create the various lists that will form the backbone of your productivity system. You will have a calendar for things that are time and date specific, like appointments and deadlines. For your deferred next actions, you'll create next actions lists. A powerful way to organize these is by context: the tool, location, or situation required to complete them. For instance, you might have a list for iCalls, iComputer, iErrands, or iHome. This way, when you have your phone in hand, you can just look at your iCalls list and see all the calls you need to make, without being distracted by tasks you can't do at that moment. You also need a projects list. A project is any outcome that requires more than one action step to complete. This list is simply an index of all your active projects, not a list of tasks. It serves as a regular reminder of the larger outcomes you are committed to, ensuring that you consistently define next actions for each of them. Alongside these, you'll have your waiting for list and your someday, maybe list for those things you might want to do in the future, but not right now. And finally, you'll need a robust, simple-to-use reference filing system for all that non-actionable information you want to keep. The key is that this system, in its entirety, must be trustworthy. You must have confidence that anything you put into it will resurface at the right time. This brings us to the fourth step: reflect. Your system is not a static set-it-and-forget-it tool. It needs to be kept current to remain functional. This means frequent, regular reviews. The most critical component of this is the weekly review. This is the moment you set aside each week to get your head empty again, to process all your open loops, review your lists, and ensure your system is complete and up to date. During this review, you look at your calendar, your next actions lists, your projects list, your waiting for list, and even your someday, maybe list. It's your opportunity to regain control and focus, to see both the trees and the forest, and to ensure that what you're doing day to day aligns with your higher-level goals and values. This weekly habit is what puts the trusted in your trusted system. The final step is to engage. With a clear, organized, and current system, you can now make trusted choices about what to do at any given moment. When you have a window of time, you don't have to waste mental energy figuring out what you should be doing. Instead, you can look at your context-specific lists and simply do. You have already done the hard thinking upfront during the capture, clarify, and organize stages. When deciding what to engage with from your lists, you can use a 4-criteria model. Consider the context you are in, the time you have available, the energy you have at that moment, and your priorities. This allows you to make intuitive, in-the-moment decisions with confidence, knowing you're choosing from a complete inventory of your commitments. There are different levels, or horizons, from which to view your life and work. The ground level is your calendar and actions, the day-to-day tasks. Above that are your current projects. Then come your areas of focus and responsibility, both at work and in your personal life. Higher still are your 1 to 2 year goals, then your 3 to 5 year vision, and finally, your life purpose. By mastering the workflow at the ground level, you free up the mental bandwidth to engage more effectively with these higher horizons, ensuring that your daily actions are in alignment with your ultimate goals. In the modern economy, 2 core abilities have become paramount for success: the ability to quickly master hard things and the ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. These abilities, in turn, depend on one underlying skill: the capacity to perform deep work. Deep work is the set of professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. This is the work that truly matters. Its opposite is shallow work, non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. Shallow work doesn't create much new value in the world and is easy to replicate. The deep work hypothesis is simple yet profound. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. The result is a massive opportunity for those who are willing to cultivate this skill and make it the core of their working life. They will thrive. The majority, however, will continue to drift toward the shallow, their days consumed by a frantic blur of emails, social media notifications, and meetings. They are embracing a culture of connectivity, where busyness is often used as a proxy for productivity. But this busyness generates a state of fragmented attention that is antithetical to deep, valuable creation. To escape this trap and join the ranks of the focused and productive, you must deliberately retrain your mind and restructure your work habits. The first step in embracing a life of deep work is to decide on your depth philosophy. You cannot simply hope to stumble into periods of intense concentration. You must architect them into your life. There are several models to consider. The monastic philosophy involves radically minimizing or eliminating shallow obligations altogether, dedicating almost all of your working hours to a single high-level focus. This is an extreme approach, suitable for those whose work is largely solitary and defined by a singular, major pursuit. A more common and practical approach is the bimodal philosophy. This involves dividing your time, dedicating clearly defined stretches to deep pursuits while leaving the rest open to everything else. This could mean setting aside a few days each week, or even certain weeks or months of the year, for intense, monastic-style concentration, and then returning to the world of shallow obligations. The famed psychiatrist Carl Jung practiced a bimodal approach, retreating to his stone tower in Bollingen for periods of isolated deep thinking, then returning to his busy clinical practice in Zurich. For those whose schedules are more consistent, the rhythmic philosophy is often the most effective. This strategy argues that the easiest way to consistently start deep work sessions is to transform them into a simple, regular habit. The goal is to generate a rhythm for this work that removes the need to invest energy and willpower in deciding if and when you're going to go deep. You might, for example, block off 3 to 4 hours every single morning for deep work, making this a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. The chain method, where you mark an X on a calendar for every day you complete your deep work session, helps build this rhythm through visual momentum. Finally, there is the journalistic philosophy, where you fit deep work into any open gaps in your schedule. This requires an almost supernatural ability to switch from shallow to deep mode at a moment's notice, and is generally not recommended for novices. For most, a rhythmic or bimodal approach provides the necessary structure to build a sustainable deep work practice. Once you have chosen a philosophy, you must ritualize your practice. The key to developing a deep work habit is to move beyond good intentions and add routines and rituals to your working life. These are designed to minimize the amount of your limited willpower necessary to transition into and maintain a state of unbroken concentration. Your ritual should specify a few key things. First, where you will work and for how long. This space should be dedicated to depth, free from the distractions of your normal environment. Second, how you will work once you start. This includes establishing rules, such as a ban on internet use or a specific process for tackling the task at hand. Third, how you will support your work. This could mean having a cup of coffee ready, ensuring you have all the research materials you need, or even incorporating light exercise or a specific type of music to trigger a state of focus. This structured routine signals to your brain that it is time to concentrate, making the transition into a deep state much smoother. You might even consider making a grand gesture, investing a significant amount of money or effort into a project, like booking a hotel room for a weekend just to finish a report, which creates a powerful psychological commitment to the task. A crucial and perhaps counterintuitive component of this journey is to embrace boredom. In our modern world, we have been conditioned to fear even a moment of unscheduled, unstimulated time. The moment boredom strikes, we instinctively reach for our phones to scroll through feeds or check emails. This constant switching trains your mind to crave distraction, fundamentally eroding your ability to sustain the intense focus required for deep work. To counteract this, you must retrain your attention. This means consciously choosing to be bored sometimes. When you're standing in line, waiting for a meeting to start, or commuting, resist the urge to pull out your phone. Let your mind wander, or focus on a single, well-defined professional problem. This practice, a form of productive meditation, builds your mental muscles for concentration. You are not trying to achieve a state of transcendent mindfulness, but rather to focus your attention on a single problem without distraction while your body is otherwise occupied, such as when walking or jogging. To further fortify your mind against the allure of distraction, you must be deliberate and ruthless in how you engage with the internet and social media. These network tools are not inherently evil, but their design promotes a culture of shallow, intermittent engagement that is poison to a deep work habit. Instead of mindlessly consuming content, apply a craftsman's approach to tool selection. For each network tool you use, ask whether its use has a substantially positive impact on your core personal and professional goals. If the benefits do not clearly outweigh the significant negative costs to your attention, you should abandon it. Consider a 30-day digital declutter, where you take a break from optional technologies in your life. Afterward, you can reintroduce tools, but only those that bring significant value. Furthermore, you must stop using the internet for entertainment. When your workday is done, be lazy. Let your brain truly rest and recover. Downtime is not a vice. It is an essential prerequisite for producing high-quality deep work. It replenishes the energy needed for concentration and allows your subconscious mind to process complex problems, often leading to breakthrough insights. The final rule is to drain the shallows. The goal is not just to add more deep work to your schedule, but to systematically reduce the amount of shallow work that consumes your time and energy. A powerful technique for this is to schedule every minute of your day. At the start of each day, take a fresh page in a notebook and block out your hours in 30-minute increments. Assign tasks to these blocks, including time for deep work, meetings, and even lunch. This is not about rigidly adhering to a plan, but about being intentional with your time. If your schedule gets disrupted, you simply take a minute to revise the plan for the rest of the day. This practice forces you to confront how much time you truly have and how much of it is being wasted on low-value activities. As part of this scheduling, you should become more deliberate about quantifying the depth of your activities. Not all tasks are created equal. You can develop a simple scale to rate how much focused, uninterrupted concentration a task requires. By analyzing how much of your time is spent on deep versus shallow endeavors, you can become more strategic about where you invest your cognitive resources. Ask your boss for a shallow work budget. Having an explicit conversation about the ratio of deep to shallow work you should be aiming for can provide clarity and justification for saying no to less important requests. Become hard to reach. Let people know that you are slow to respond to email and that you prefer structured communication over constant back-and-forth messaging. Use process-centric email responses that aim to conclude a conversation in a single message by outlining the required steps and shifting the burden of organizing the next step away from you. This fixed schedule productivity, where you commit to finishing your workday at a set time, say 5 p.m., forces you to be ruthless in your prioritization and to find efficiencies that allow you to accomplish your most important work within those fixed hours. Embracing deep work is not merely a productivity hack, it is a shift in worldview. It is a recognition that a life of frantic, surface-level busyness is a life of missed potential and hollow achievement. To engage in deep work is to practice a craft, to hone your ability and apply it with respect and care. In this focused effort, you can generate true meaning and satisfaction from your professional life. It provides an escape from the anxiety of the shallow and a path toward producing work that is excellent, valuable, and a source of profound fulfillment. The path is not easy. It requires discipline, intention, and a willingness to go against the grain of our hyper-connected culture. But for those who commit to it, the rewards are immense. The deep life, after all, is the good life.